Welcome, everybody. My name is Jennifer Cunningham. I'm the AVP of Alumni Relations at Lehigh University. And I'm thrilled to say we had about 450 people register for this webinar. Very, very relevant topic from Dr. Susan Woodhouse. She's an associate professor in our College of Education at the Counseling Psychology program. She's been at Lehigh for 12 years, since 2012. And we're going to hear from her today about managing social and emotional wellness for our families. The way this works, because we expect to have lots of people, rather than have you unmute your phone and ask your questions, we're going to ask you to use the chat box, which you'll find at the bottom of your screen. Just click on the icon that says chat, and you can ask your question or make your comment, and I will read those to Dr. Woodhouse so she can concentrate on answering your questions. So now I'm going to turn it over to her. She's going to talk to us for about 10 minutes about the topic, and then we'll open it up for your questions and comments. Dr. Woodhouse.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm really so happy to be here today to talk to you about social emotional wellness for families during COVID-19. I have a daughter myself who is 12, just turned 12, and there are many times when I felt that she seems younger during COVID-19, and I think that it's because it's a very stressful time. It's really calling forward issues related to attachment and feeling safe in the world right now. So I want to talk to you about that and about parenting during these times. Let's see, how do I get this to advance? Oops, I went too far. Okay. All right, so sorry about that. So I want to talk to you about secure attachment, and what does secure attachment really mean? Secure attachment really boils down to two very simple things that we as parents are trying to build for our children. One is the idea that I am here for you. And the second one is, and you are worth it. So the whole idea of I'm here for you means that what the child is learning from that is that you can trust others to be there for you when you need them, because I've been there for you when you most needed. And this idea of you're worth it, what our child is learning is because you see me being there for you when you most need it, that you can believe that you are worthy of needed care and connections from others. And you can imagine that those two beliefs are really foundational for the rest of life and for mental health in the future. And in fact, somehow I'm having trouble advancing. There we go. Oops, still having trouble. And in fact, the research shows, decades of research shows that when children are secure, they will experience lower depression and lower anxiety, not only in childhood, but also in adulthood. You'll also see less acting out. So children will listen better, have more empathy towards others. They'll be more compliant with parent and teacher requests. And they also go on to have better relationships with you as parents, with their siblings, and with their peers. And also, secure attachment helps kids be more ready for school. And it also helps them have better biobehavioral regulation. A lot of the research that I do has shown that children handle stress better, and they can have better, not only biologically, but also then have good ability to attend when they need to challenges. And it's a brain and biological connection. So it's really important. It all leads to more learning in the future. Okay, so let me just also start by saying that what I want to talk about today is that good enough parenting is enough. I think there can be such a tendency to think that we need to be perfect parents. But I want to give a disclaimer that this presentation is not rated PG for parenting guilt. It's rated G for you are good enough, and it's really not about being perfect. So some of my research actually really supports this idea about good enough parenting. I wanted to share this with you because I think it's so important for us. The truth is that the more stress we feel under as parents, the more difficult it is to do good parenting. And so I think really starting with this message that good enough is really important. A research study that I did compared two different ways of thinking about parental caregiving, the traditional sensitivity versus this new model, which I call secure-based provision. And so what's sensitivity? Sensitivity is moment by moment matching a child's needs. And that's really a lot of times what we hold ourselves up to is like, okay, if I'm going to be a perfect parent, I'm going to try to meet all of my child's needs exactly as they're happening. Secure-based provision is a little different. Secure-based provision is about getting the job done when it's needed. So providing a secure base from which a child can go out to explore, and being a safe haven to which the child can return when needed. And it's really about getting the job done rather than moment by moment matching. In the end, am I able to fulfill these two functions of providing a secure base and providing a safe haven? And what we found in the research is that that secure-based provision predicted attachment security 8 times better than did that moment-by-moment matching. And we found that low SES moms who did a better job of providing, and by low SES, I mean like low income moms. This was a study with low income moms, but I think it's relevant for all of us, is that the low SES moms who did a better job of providing a secure base increased their infants' chances of developing a secure attachment from 29.5% to 70.5%. So that's really important for us to know that it's really about, in the end, do we meet our child's needs? And so then the question becomes, so what are these child's needs? What does it mean to provide a secure base and a safe haven? And so what I wanted to do now is share a little bit of the research that I've been involved in throughout my career on a particular parenting intervention that's called Circle of Security. And I'm going to be sharing with you some principles from Circle of Security. So I just wanted to start off by saying that we've been doing research on Circle of Security and we've been finding it to be effective. So in the initial study, it was a pre-post study with preschoolers in a Head Start program. And that initial study found that kids who were disorganized, insecure, so that's kind of the worst kind of insecurity there is, that by going through when their parents went through Circle of Security intervention, the preschoolers became secure. And since that initial study, I've been involved in 2 randomized controlled trials of some different versions of Circle of Security, and both of those showed that the intervention worked. So one was with infants, mothers of infants who are really highly irritable, and what we found was that we were able to increase the security of attachment for highly irritable infants. And then a more recent study with preschoolers, we found that we were able to increase not only attachment security, but also executive functioning and reduce behavior problems. So executive function is what you need in order to be able to focus and inhibit negative behaviors. And so the ideas I'm going to be talking about today have an empirical support. So, all right, so let's talk about what does it mean to support our children's security? And this is a handout that I'll often share with the parents that I'm working with. And it's almost everything I need to know about supporting security in 25 words or less. And this is what it boils down to. Always be bigger, stronger, wiser, and kind. Whenever possible, follow my child's need. And whenever necessary, take charge. Okay, so sometimes we can follow, but sometimes we know that we do need to take charge. And it's important that we as parents feel that we can take charge and step in and take charge in those take charge moments. And so it's not just about following the child, it's also about taking charge when needed. So let me now talk about what some of these needs that our children have are. Okay, so a lot of times parents will say, well, I wish children came with a handbook. You know, there are no instructions that came with my child. And what I like to tell parents is that actually there is an instruction booklet, and the instruction booklet is actually written in your child. And so the more we take time to read our child, the more we'll get clarity on those instructions. And what I view this circle as a way, it's really like a roadmap that makes clear where your child is. And it highlights these two ideas that I was talking about at the beginning, providing a secure base and providing a safe haven. So if you look at this, you are the hands. Your hands are the hands of safety that your child feels. You provide your child with the security to go out and to explore, because that really, no matter what age your kid is, their job is to explore the world, figure out how things work, and come to understand themselves in the world. And so when children are out exploring, what they're telling us is, I need you to support my exploration. Sometimes that just means watch over me, you know, watch what I'm doing, and just be there. Delight in me when I discover something new. Just delight with me in that. You know, sometimes we parents miss those moments of joy that we can experience, of just that eye contact and that like shared delight over some kind of new discovery your child's made. Sometimes our kids need help. You know, they're having trouble with something, and what we need is to help. And sometimes it's just about enjoy with me, and enjoy what your child is doing. Enjoy the activity and enjoy your child. Now, our kids will go out to explore, but at some point they're going to want to come back in, whether it's just to reconnect and just touch base and reconnect. Sometimes kids need comfort. You know, they've been upset by the world, they've been stressed and pressured or scared, and they need us to comfort them. Sometimes they just need us to welcome them back in and delight in them, enjoy that moment of connection, and pretty soon they'll be back out again. And sometimes there are so many feelings going on. They're sad, they're scared, or they're angry and sad, or they're some combination of feelings, and it's just too much, and they need our help to organize their feelings. And that's a really important job for us to be able to do. Most parents feel more comfortable on one side of the circle, either the top or the bottom of the circle. And it's good to ask ourselves, which side do I feel more comfortable on? A lot of times the side that we're more comfortable on is the side that our parents were more comfortable on with us, because we tend to give what we've been given. And one of the things that can be really helpful is to think about that side that maybe feels like a little bit more of a struggle, and to think about what might that be about? What might I wish that I could have gotten when I was growing up on that part of it? And sometimes parents will feel scared, like, oh, my kid just wants attention, and I'm trying to do too many other things, and it becomes burdensome. And it's easy to forget that moment of reconnection can be quick, and then they're right back out again. Sometimes parents feel scared when they're going out to explore, because it can feel like a scary world. But if we can structure a safe way for them to interact with the world, then they get to do their job and explore. So this roadmap, if you start thinking about your kid, you can start to see, oh, I can see what you're talking about. There are times when they're exploring, and there are times when they need to connect. And the important thing to remember is that you are the hands. And let me talk a little bit more about hands, because being hands on the circle, if I could get this to advance, means that being hands means, first of all, that you're there, that you're bigger and stronger, not mean, and kind, but not weak. And it's that balancing of being bigger and stronger and kind, but not being mean and not being weak, but really keeping that balance. And not being gone is, for most families, works pretty well, like, you know, but there are sometimes families do struggle with not being present. But for the most part, the struggles that we're working on are really about, how do I stay balanced between being bigger, stronger, but not mean, and kind, but not weak? And that's the struggle for most of us. Sometimes parents will tend to go back and forth between the two. And I know for myself that sometimes, you know, when I'm trying to work from home and also trying to help my daughter with her homeschooling stuff, that it can start to feel like I can feel my blood pressure rising, and I have to remind myself, okay, bigger, stronger, but also kind. And those are the kinds of questions that we really benefit from asking ourselves. Now, because this is a time of additional stress because of COVID-19, it's really important for us as parents to pay attention to our needs and what's going on for us. And so here, what I've shown is that we need, though we're the hands on the circle, we as parents also need hands for us. And we need to be mindful about who are the hands for us. Who do we turn to when we need support? Who do we turn to when we need comfort, or when we need someone to help organize our feelings or delight in us about the victories that we've had that day? And to explore. So I would like to invite you all to think about who provides the hands for you. And if that's an area that needs attention, think about who could be hands for me. Who could I turn to for these same things that I'm trying to give my child? Because remember, we tend to give not only what we've been given, but what we are being given. And so we need to make sure that at times of stress that we're really seeking out hands for us as well. Try to get this thing to advance. There we go. Now, what can get in the way? One of the ways that we think about this is we call it shark music. So you see here this shark kind of swimming right below the surface. And even when it's not a time of high stress, we all have some kind of shark music that can be playing. So when I'm working with parents, one of the things that I'll do is talk to them about how the experiences that we've had create the background music to our lives, kind of like the theme music for a movie. And sometimes if the music is beautiful, then the scene can feel relaxing and calm. But if that da-dun, da-dun, da-da-da-da-da, you know, the shark music, that Jaws, we start to feel scared, and the exact same scene that moments before felt fine now doesn't feel fine anymore. And it's that shark music that we need to pay attention to. And in COVID-19, when we're under incredible stresses and so many things are going on, that shark music can just really get amplified. And so in dealing with shark music, the goal is not to get rid of shark music, because it's always going to be there, but to allow the shark to be smaller than your child. Simply becoming aware of and naming that shark music moment, and just noticing that it's playing in the background can be powerful. Be curious about the shark music. Where might this be coming from? And then work on repair, getting back on the circle. What does my child need? How can I be bigger, stronger, wiser, and kind right now? And when your child is really upset and you're upset, remember, I am bigger, stronger, wiser, and kind. And when you get, and it might mean that you need to take a time out for yourself, a time out for your child, not as punishment, but to get calm. Once you're calm enough, even when your child's upset, you can take charge so your child's not too out of control. Sit together for a time and a spot so feelings can begin to change, just being present with them. Calm tone, being firm and reassuring, talk about what happened. And when both of you are calm enough, then you can help your child find words for needs and feelings, and keeping it simple and short. So KISS is a really helpful thing. Keep it simple and short, and talk about new ways of dealing with the problem in the future. Okay, let me just try to advance this. Okay, I've also, did I do this right? Okay, so that you can get back onto the circle, and following your child around the circle as needed, and then you know, and in order to do that, I've also provided you with some resources here. You'll see that Circle of Security International has some resources for parents that I think you might find very helpful. Specific to talking about the coronavirus, there's a wonderful, Chandra Ghosh Ippen has developed a wonderful coloring book that you can download actually for free. And there's also a YouTube video of her reading the book. And it's a wonderful resource for talking about the virus with kids, and also for if some of you might be frontline workers who need to be separated from kids, there's a part of the book that that also addresses that you could either include or not include depending on what's needed. And the National Child Traumatic Stress Network has some wonderful resources about coping with hard times, because for example, people facing layoffs or unemployment, that creates a sense of insecurity that can be transferred to kids if we're not careful. So there's some ways that these are supports there for parents who might be dealing with that. And just in general, supporting your child through COVID-19. There's some wonderful resources there. I also wanted to mention that Lehigh University is developing a new social, emotional, behavioral wellness endorsement. It's a 12-credit program that meets the requirements for the Pennsylvania Department of Education Social, Emotional, and Behavioral Wellness endorsement. It's a hybrid program that includes both in-person and online components. So if you're interested in learning more about social emotional wellness, we will be having some new courses that will be coming that you might be interested in. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Woodhouse. I'm going to put you on speed dial because this was, we're getting a lot of comments in the chat of how helpful this has been, and questions about the resources that we will be sending this out to everybody. And some of these resources are in Spanish, so we will be sending those as well. We'll also send information about that 12-credit course in the follow-up, along with a recording of this. So I wanted to get to some questions. The first one is from Kadia. On that slide where you were talking about balancing the kids' needs with the need to take charge, can you talk a little bit more about how you evaluate that?
Okay, so a take charge moment, I mean, it really depends on the age of your child, what kinds of moments might be a take charge moment. So for example, for a baby, a baby might need a diaper changed. And a lot of times babies are pretty famous for not liking to have their diaper changed, and they will cry, but it's one of those moments where it just needs to be done. Or maybe for a baby or even a preschooler, or really any age, like kids need to go to sleep, and they might need our help to take charge to help them get to sleep, to get to bed and to have a routine for that. So there are all kinds of things where maybe a kid has feelings about it, but we need to take charge and they have to do it. And in COVID-19, for me, for example, my daughter has to do work to be, for her school homeschooling, and she might not want to, and she might have feelings about that, but part of taking charge is we need to do this. There's a vision here. I want you to have a good and happy future. So that's why we're going to do this work now. But you might have feelings about it too. And we can talk about those feelings, but you will be doing the work. So that's what taking charge means.
There's some questions on here about more about the ages. Kimberly's question is about college students. And then some other questions lower down are about older elementary students and preschool children. How do you decide based on age, and also talking with them about COVID and all the stuff that's going on this weekend? How do you assure them that it's going to be okay?
Yeah. Well, so first of all, kids, they're what they're capable of and what they need really is going to change over the lifespan. And in fact, we ourselves are also on the circle. We just maybe do it with, other loved ones, we turn to people. So those needs are the same throughout the lifespan, but what they look like might be different. And in terms of talking about traumatic events, the things that we need to emphasize remain the same. So for example, when difficult things are happening like COVID-19 or the events of this past week, what we want to emphasize is that some really hard things are happening, but grown-ups are working together to try to make it better, and you are safe. We really want to communicate that you are safe and that we're working together. One of the things I really like about the Trinka and Sam book that Dr. Chandra Ghosh Ipin put together is that it talks about the entire community working together and that we're all pulling together to do it. So I think that's a really important part of talking about. It's not that we can't let our kids know about these kinds of events, but that we need to talk about it in a way that helps them feel safe and that helps them feel that we're all in this together and connected together.
Which is a great segue for the next question from Jill about suggestions for parents whose parenting styles differ from one another, meaning, could be implemented with one parent but not the other, or do you divide and conquer? Do you play good cop, bad cop? Like how does it work when there are two parents, perhaps with different styles or the same style? Do you both approach it the same way?
Yeah, that's a great question. And sometimes we've had parents go through the program together, or parents and grandparents go through the program together and have really different parenting styles. But what we do is we work with all the parents. So to find them, to understand the circle, and even if your style might be different, you still can do both the secure base, providing a secure base and providing a safe haven, and how can you get better on both of them. So we each tend to struggle on one side or the other, or some parents struggle on both sides, but we can all get better on both sides, and we can support each other in that.
Right. Layla's question is about any cross-cultural research. Has the research included families from across different cultures? She's specifically asking about Asian or Southeast Asian cultures.
Yeah, and this is a great question. So attachment research has shown to be, it applies across cultures. Now, the thing is that it can look different. It can have a different flavor across different cultures, and different cultures emphasize different things. So some cultures emphasize independence more, and some cultures emphasize collectivism more. So the flavor of it can be different, but the children still need that secure base to explore and then to be able to come back. But what that looks like can be different. And it's funny here, there's actually been some research showing like German moms to African moms and African moms to German moms. And they're like, oh, why are they doing it that way? But so for example, with the German moms, there was a lot more face-to-face contact. And with the African moms, there was more of a physical engagement. And they each thought the other was working too hard, but actually they were both doing it in different ways. And that babies are very adaptable, and they can grow up they can adapt to many different conditions, but those basic needs are different, and how we satisfy them can be different.
Dominique's question is about, my 5-year-old's needed a lot more attention since being in quarantine than she used to. She's struggling to play on her own. Sounds like this is normal, but how do I encourage her to be more self-sufficient and to engage in self-play without making her feel less connected to me? As so many of us, she's struggling with the need for constant attention while also working from home. So you're there for them, but you can't be there for them 8 hours a day. How do you balance that?
This is a really big question right now, and a lot of us are dealing with this. It might be really helpful to take a look at the book, the Sam and Trinka book, because it does talk about how to talk to your kid about, like, I'm on an important call right now. And so kind of like helping kids differentiate between when you can talk to me and when not, and how to manage that. But it is really hard because, at that age, playing alone is, it's kind of just coming online. So it's sometimes we're asking more of our kids than what they're actually quite able to do. And so then it becomes, okay, how do we get a nice rhythm going? But these are not easy times. Absolutely.
Could you just share the name of that book again?
It's in the resources that it's Sam and Trinka talking about the virus. So it's on the slides and it'll be sent out to everybody.
Okay, great. So we have just 1 minute left. So I will ask Layla's question about any specific considerations with special needs children.
Yes. Okay, so with special needs children, the needs can be the same in terms of exploration and connection, but the specifics of what that might look like will be different. And it depends on what kinds of special needs you might be talking about. So it's been shown that with special need kids, these attachment needs are still important. So it's not like that they're somehow off the circle. They're also on the circle.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to sneak in one more question because there are two people that are asking similar questions about children and sibling issues. Do you have any resources for sibling rivalry, or if children are different and how you approach things differently? And I know for my own kids, like, that's not fair. She got this, she got that. So do you have quick tips for that?
Oh, that's a really tough one. Maybe I'll include another resource. That's a wonderful book called How to Talk So Your Kids Will Listen and Listen So Your Kids Will Talk. That talks some about sibling rivalry, because this is like the perennial issue for parents. And it's tough when both kids are on the circle. And you're trying to manage two circles, but it can be done, but it's hard. It's more complicated, sure. So we'll add a resource to try to help support families with that issue.
Fantastic, thank you. Lots of compliments on this webinar and the importance of it, and I echo those. Our time with you is sadly over, but thank you. And again, everyone on the call, you will be getting the PowerPoint, and that on the last page lists all the resources. So we'll make sure to include that resource you just mentioned on your slide as well, and then send it out along with the recording in case anyone had to jump in late. You'll get the recording. So thank you, Dr. Woodhouse. Very, very helpful. I'm now going to go parent my kids.
Wonderful to be with you all. Thank you.
Thank you.